So I decided to split up the AFC and the NFC videos into two separate videos because they got a little bit long, and I just thought I would give each conference their own little separate video. Now, as I mentioned in the first one, this was not my idea. This was Tom Grossi's idea. I'll link his video in the channel down below of where I saw it. As I mentioned in the first one, I did not see his videos at all. I just want to say this is completely his idea. I stole it from him. So if you want to go see his, the link will be down below. But we are here to predict the playoff seedings for the NFC. So at number one, obviously, you can't predict this one. It's the Packers. They've already clinched the number one seed. They beat them in their first matchup, 35-17. Rodgers, I think on the Pat McAfee show, said that they were going to play their starters at least at some point in this game. I don't know how long. I didn't. If he did say how long they're going to play, I didn't catch that. But you obviously, Rodgers playing at an MVP level. I think their defense got right last week. Dalvin Cook, who we thought was going to run crazy all over them, did absolutely nothing in that game. They held him to like 13 yards on 9 carries, so that was very good. But the Packers, they have the MVP of the league. They have the best wide receiver in the league. They are potentially going to get healthy and get some of their guys back. I still think they have a very good defense that needs to tighten up on the run game just a little bit. But I still think they have a very, very good defense. But the Packers are the number one seed because you can't predict that one because they're already there. At the number 2 seed, might surprise some people, it's going to be the Buccaneers. And that just has to come down with the Rams going to be, that I predict are going to lose to the 49ers, but we'll get into that. But the Buccaneers, they play the Panthers. They're going to beat the Panthers. They beat them in the first matchup 32-6. This team is very injured, and the fact that they're even here right now at this point, I know I might be overreacting to what happened last week, but that's just crazy to me. This team is injured. Their best receiver, Chris Godwin's out. You had AB literally quit on the football team. Now Tom Brady is throwing to no-name receivers. Their defense is nowhere near as good as last year. But I think them winning this game, they're already clinched their division, so they're going to get a home game. But they're going to bump up to the number 2 seed. They're going to get a more favorable matchup in the first round, so I think that's going to help them out just a little bit. And they get Leonard Fournette back, possibly. I was reading something where they might get Leonard Fournette back. But I think having a home game is going to help. But their defense is nowhere near as good as they were last year. Again, that has to do with injuries. Their secondary has absolutely been decimated for most of this year. But I think the Buccaneers will handle their business against the Panthers, be the number 2 seed, and they still have Tom Brady, who, if you remember his last year in New England, was able to make no-name receivers in New England and bring them to the playoffs. So you still got Tom Brady. I know some people don't like him because he's a check down Charlie, whatever. That's your opinion. But they still have Tom Brady, and I think they can get the team, the Buccaneers, in a favorable spot, and they'll be the number 2 seed in the NFC. Coming in at number 3 will be the Cardinals. I'm predicting to be the 3 seed. They're going to take care of their business against the Seahawks, who they beat 23-13 in their first matchup. Now the Cardinals are going to be the number 3 seed because I think the Rams will lose to the 49ers, thus bumping the Cardinals up to the 3 seed and over the next team, which we'll get into a second. Then also meaning that the Cardinals will win their division. I still believe that the Cardinals can somehow win their division. We'll get to the Rams and the reason why here in a second. But like I said, the Cardinals beat the Seahawks 23-13 in their first matchup. But I feel like at times they're really missing James Conner and DeAndre Hopkins. Now, James Conner might be coming back soon. He's more likely to come back than DeAndre Hopkins. They were saying that there was a chance D-Hop could come back for the playoffs, but it seems like they're still leaning on the fact that he may not, but hey, he may come back. But they also own the tiebreaker over Dallas, who we'll get to here in a second. But the Cardinals, they have a very good defense. There's nothing really to complain about their defense. It's very, very good. And there may be issues when it comes to Cliff Kingsbury because I know a lot of people harp all over him because he has even dating back to his college years, he starts off every single season very, very hot, but then he just falls off a cliff later in the season. And he's very bad late in season. So Cliff Kingsbury might play a factor in this game or in their playoff run. But I think the Cardinals, they'll take care of business against the Seahawks. I think the Rams will lose to the 49ers. Again, we'll get to that here in a second. But I think the Cardinals, if they can figure out how to use other guys, and I also think Rondale Moore is out, and if they can figure out how to use other guys and use them effectively, efficiently, because they still have Zach Ertz, who, when he's on it, and still one of the better tight ends in the NFL. So I have the Cardinals at number 3. At number 4, we have the Dallas Cowboys. They'll play the Eagles. They'll win this game. They beat the Eagles pretty handily, and it was a pretty lopsided game anyways in the first matchup, 41-21. the thing with the Cowboys is it feels like they beat the bad teams, lose to the good teams, but then they also lose to the Broncos and look absolutely terrible while doing it. Credit, the Broncos do have a fairly good defense, but you're played the Broncos and they have no offense. What the heck? That was weird. But anyways, the Cowboys, I'll be honest, I don't know what to think of them. I think Dak Prescott has been a very average quarterback this season. Zeke has not looked particularly well. Now they have Michael Gallup, who's out for the season. I don't know what it is about the Cowboys. I don't want to compare them to the Vikings, but they have a lot of talent to the point where they shouldn't be in the position where they in. I think the Cowboys should have been competing for the number 1 seed at time. I know that's a bit harsh on them, but they're the Cowboys, the talent that they have, and for how much money they're paying Dak Prescott. Like, the game that just popped into my mind was the Saints game, and if it wasn't for a pick 6 in that game, 1 would have been much closer, and 2, there may have been a chance where the Cowboys lose that game. I'm pretty sure there was a pick 6 in that game. If I'm wrong, just let me know. I'll happily be wrong. But Dak is just a very average quarterback. Their defense is good most of the time, but when they're throwing at Trayvon Diggs, he's either getting an interception or giving up a huge chunk play. So their defense at times, like I said, is very good. It's much better than last year. But the Cowboys in the playoffs, I personally do not trust them to do anything in the playoffs. And the game that I was talking, or the team that I was talking about the most, and the team that I was mentioning very early on in this video, coming in at the number 5 seed, I'm predicting to be the number 5 seed, is the Rams. They play the 49ers, and I think they lose to the 49ers. I really do. The 49ers ran all over them in the first matchup. They beat them 31-10. The Rams had absolutely no answer to that Rams running game in the first matchup. But you can also, it's not just the first matchup that I think is why the 49ers win. I think it's because of the inconsistent play of Matthew Stafford the last few weeks. Now, there's some people that are thinking, oh, they're a gritty team and they won. Yeah, they won. Games in the NFL are hard to come by. Matthew Stafford has 6 turnovers in the last 2 weeks. He's a very good quarterback, but makes too many mistakes. So Matthew Stafford may end up becoming a liability in the playoffs. I know that might be a bit much, but I think Matthew Stafford, if he continues to play with all these turnovers, he's going to turn out to be a liability in the playoffs. And I don't know how much I trust him in the playoffs either. But the additions to OBJ, he's been a very, very nice addition. Same with Von Miller. Like, those two guys, the reason why they won the Rams game, or the Ravens game, I should say, is because those two guys definitely stepped up. They have Cooper Kupp playing out of his mind elite this season, and they still have they have a great defense. But I think the Rams, they're going to end up losing to the 49ers, thus bumping them down to the number 5 seed, thus helping the 49ers make it to the playoffs, and also meaning the Rams will not win their division. And the number 6 seed in the NFC will be the 49ers. The 49ers will make it the playoffs. They play the Rams, as I just mentioned. I personally think they will beat the Rams. Like I mentioned earlier, they beat the Rams 31-10 in their first matchup. They have an outstanding run game. I know Kyle Shanahan gets a bunch of crap. I know Jimmy Garoppolo gets a bunch of crap. But the Kyle Shanahan offense is one of the greatest offenses. Not one of the greatest, but one of the most fun offenses to watch. And it's simply for the fact that they could probably pick me off the street, scheme their offense and their run game great, and I feel like I could rush for 100 yards in their offense. Like, that's just the thing. And Kyle Shanahan, he's going to be coaching his butt off in this game. They're hoping to have Jimmy Garoppolo back for this game. Apparently, they were sitting him out of practice for this week, hoping to have him back for this game. So having him back, I think Trey Lance got a few reps last week against the Texans, but I think Jimmy Garoppolo back. I think right now Jimmy Garoppolo gives them the best chance to win. However, if Trey Lance does have to play in the playoffs, I don't know how well he's going to do. He is a rookie who hadn't played much football leading into the draft to begin with. The 49ers, they have a solid defense. I think they're going to get a huge win against the Rams. And like I mentioned, that run offense of them, the fact that they can scheme anybody to just go down the field, get yards, is just absolutely beautiful to watch. And I love their run game. I really do. Kyle Shanahan's offense is so fun. And at number 7, a team that has already clinched a playoff spot, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. They play the Cowboys. I think they're going to lose that game. I really do. And as I mentioned, they already clinched a playoff spot. So the Saints, unfortunately, they're out. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. But the Eagles lost to the Cowboys in the first matchup, 41-21. They were not a good football team to start this season. They were 2-5 at one point, and everybody was making fun of Nick Sirianni. And I think rightfully so. But since then, this team has definitely rolled. They found who they are. They run the heck out of that football. Their offensive line is great. Their run offense is just beautiful to watch. It's very, very good. They play fairly solid defense, I would say. But the thing is with the Eagles, I don't think they kind of expected themselves to be here. I mean, every NFL team expects to be here, but I didn't expect the Eagles to even make the playoffs. But they found who they are. They run the heck out of the football. So, and because they run the football very, very well, I think there is a good chance they could upset their first round opponent. The chances of that, I think, are kind of low. But the fact that they started 2-5 and they made the playoffs, they're at the number 7 seed. I mean, I can't really move them because I'm predicting things, but some things are kind of set in stone based off everything else I've already done. But I think the Eagles will be very tough in the playoffs. So if we're looking at these matchups, the first matchup we'd have is the Buccaneers and the Eagles. That was what I was saying with the Buccaneers. They do get a favorable first round matchup with all their injuries. I think that'll definitely help. They'll use week 18 against the Panthers, and then they'll use the Eagles game, hopefully to figure out something that they can use with these no-name receivers and help them in the playoffs. You have the Cardinals and the 49ers, which is going to be one heck of an AFC or an NFC West matchup. So that'll be fun to watch in the playoffs. And then the final game you would have is the Cowboys Rams, which I think will be one heck of a football game to watch in the first round. That'll get a lot of attention, a lot of viewership, and that game will be a lot of fun. So those are my predictions for the NFC. As I mentioned, I already predicted the AFC. So give me your thoughts down below of where you think these NFC teams will line up based off of their Week 18 matchups and where they're at right now. And I will see you in the next one.